Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing you another action figure review. Today, we're having a look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse Infinite Frontier Scarecrow. This is a pretty unique design for Scarecrow. It's a little bit less unique than the Last Night on Earth Scarecrow, which was just a torso. So we're heading the right direction, getting closer to a regular Scarecrow by McFarlane. I ordered this figure from the McFarlane toy store. Was really surprised they had the new figures in stock so quick. And they arrived today. So let's go ahead and take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the top, 22 moving parts, McFarlane Toys, ages 12 plus, DC Multiverse Scarecrow. Here he is in the package. Looks like he has a collector's card and display stand. No traditional accessories. One side of the package, Scarecrow from Infinite Frontier. Other side, simply says Scarecrow. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case it helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Scarecrow, presumably from the source material, which looks absolutely nothing like the figure. So without further ado, let's open him up. And of course, I did get two of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, and one to keep unopened in my complete Batman-related unopened action figure collection. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all his accessories laid out. He doesn't come with any traditional accessories, just a display stand and a collector's card. Before we take a look at those, let's talk about and check out the actual figure. So this is Scarecrow from Infinite Frontier. Infinite Frontier is a recent comic storyline. I personally have not read it, although I do actually own each one of the titles. Now Scarecrow here does not look like your traditional Scarecrow. He looks way different. I'm not even sure what to think. Some parts of it I like, some parts of it I don't like. As different as he is, it's still Jonathan Crane. He's still obsessed with fear and using fear gas. So let's look at him. Start off with his head here. Almost has sort of an Asian sort of feel to it. Looks like it's made of straw. Very appropriate for a Scarecrow. His face here, it does look pretty cool. Got the gas mask, goggles. He's got long hair. This Scarecrow kind of feels crazier than usual. Flowing to the back, all moves one separate piece. He's got these tubes going sort of into his hat and then into his arm, leading down more tubes to these sort of needle fingers, very similar to the Arkham Knight Scarecrow. It's all cool and very creepy looking. More tubes here. He's got this overlay. He's got another little overlay here, and it's all layered, the different bits of articulation. You can see this top part is all one piece. Then we have a separate piece down here, leading down here, and it's all separately articulated. It's actually very well done in different layers. In the back here, I don't even know what to think of this. It looks like, I don't know if it's supposed to be straw or a bunch of sticks. Feels like this guy could be kindling to start a fire. I mean, it looks cool. Very, very different than what I'm used to. Not exactly Scarecrow that I would pick. Equally as odd as the Last Night on Earth torso Scarecrow. Interesting, unique, different. That being said, I'm really curious the execution on this figure. So far it looks like there's some stuff hindering him, but a bunch of stuff done very well. The different layers and the articulation done very well. The tubes, the arms, we'll check all that in great detail. Now the design itself is really not that bad. I don't feel like it translated all that well to figure form. The coloring is almost too bright. It doesn't look nearly as intimidating or scary, as disturbing as the source material. It just sort of looks like a cheap knockoff. I don't know how to explain that. And just a closer look at his face and head sculpt. It's interesting. Got the goggles are red. He's got some sort of mask on his face. And then the gas mask below that. Coming down. Almost looking like a snout. I keep saying how unique and different the take is. I like the face. I don't really like the overall sort of way it looks with the hat and the body. Just my 2 cents. I do appreciate the figure for what it is. It's fairly accurate to the source material, and I'll welcome any different incarnations in figure form, but definitely not my preferred look. McFarlane has still not done a regular Scarecrow by a long shot. The Arkham Knight one is the most standard one, and he's pretty far from the comics. McFarlane would absolutely kill a comic Scarecrow in his iconic look. Now let's take a look at his accessories. Let's start with the boring stuff. Typical McFarlane stand, black perfect circle, DC on the bottom, one peg for the pegals on their feet, very thin, very basic. Here's his collector's card. As you can see, it's an image of Scarecrow in black and white, but it really doesn't look at all like the figure. McFarlane, give me a Scarecrow like this. I would really like to see a regular iconic looking Scarecrow by McFarlane. Scarecrow from Infinite Frontier. On the back, there is a description. If you want to read that, go ahead and pause now. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his lack of accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the very top of his hat, he's standing about 7.75 inches tall, which you can translate to about 19.5 centimeters. And it looks like the top of his head would be about 7.2 inches tall. Now let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here. Of course, it can go from side to side. If you really want to get his hair over the shoulder, you can do that. Don't forget, he's got this tube here connecting to his hat, so if you were to spin his head around and around, it would rip. But it's got a ton of extra room here, so nothing to worry about. Head looks up and down, not very much there. That's kind of disappointing, as a lot of time when the figure's here, the light will cover his face and it's very dark. I wish you could kind of make him look up a little more. Can tilt his head a little bit from side to side, but the hair is blocking most of that. Shoulder, ball joint, goes out about 90 degrees. Does look like he has that butterfly joint between the shoulder and chest area, covering up that gap. Up, down, around, all that good stuff. This other arm, it's tucked away from his clothing here. Exact same type of articulation. I feel like the arm is supposed to sit underneath here, not on top. He's got a bicep cut. Don't forget about this tube, so if you really wanted to just go around and around and around, you might cause yourself some problems, but I don't know why you'd want to do that. Double jointed elbows, go all the way in, doesn't affect the tubes at all. His wrist, rotate, hinged. He's got those needles there to inject somebody with the fear toxin. They're very bendy, which can be good or bad. Hard plastic could break very easily, but bendy, it just doesn't feel that good. It feels kind of cheap. Then again, it could break very easily. Cough, cough, DC Direct. So, lift off his garment. Got another garment. Texturing, very nice on actually both these. Lift that up and you can see the articulation. Rotate around, forward and back. Lift up his next piece and you have more articulation. Got the waist joint here. Okay, that's actually above. So we have the joint in the torso up here and down here. Like I said, the execution is very well, considering how complex all of garments and clothing is. They did a really nice job retaining as much articulation as possible. Legs, complete dozen splits, standard hip joints. Rotation is non-existent. Go forward about that far, back not much. Double jointed knees. Then his ankle here, forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and toe articulation. Now I know this is not how it was in the Infinite Frontier comics, but this Scarecrow just gives me an Asian vibe. I mean, between his hat, then we have his poncho. What is he, Asian? Is he Mexican? Here he is, in an Asian type setting. Then, Scarecrow wielding a sword in Chinatown. Here's Scarecrow next to Raiden. They're both wearing a Ranagasa hat. Even though this is not what it's intended for, this Scarecrow could easily work in an Asian ninja type setting. Here he is, with the Ninja Joker and a couple of Joker Dragons. But all joking aside, here's a shot of this Infinite Frontier Scarecrow, holding a bag of fear dust. He's got his hands, his needles, just terrifying. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Scarecrow figures. Here he is, next to the most recently released McFarlane Scarecrow figure. This is the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive gold label amber variant of the Arkham Knight Scarecrow. And I'll say, he's a fantastic figure. I can't wait for the regular paint variant. And then all the McFarlane Scarecrow figures. All three of these figures actually has the fear needles for fingers. The next Scarecrow bit is the regular version of the Arkham Knight Scarecrow. And at one point, there were rumors of an Injustice 2 Scarecrow. And here he is, next to all the DC Direct and DC collectible Scarecrow figures that I have. I'm missing at least 2. Then, here he is next to all of my Mattel Scarecrow figures. I would love it if they would make a classic, iconic version of Scarecrow. Tall, lanky, creepy. It doesn't even have to necessarily be like that. Mattel made this guy. He's a Yellow Lantern Scarecrow. But I was shocked Mattel never straight just repainted this guy and released him as a more modern version of Scarecrow. Both very solid releases. And here, next to the Mafex Scarecrow, and now, next to an older Kenner Scarecrow. Here are all the different Scarecrow figures I have in my collection, and I can't wait to add some more. Now over the years, I've used a lot of different figures for Scarecrow thugs or henchmen, army building, and having henchmen for my main Batman villains is my specialty. Here are some of the earliest ones that I got. These are older Toy Biz, Spider-Man, Jack-o'-lantern figures. And here, next to some later Toy Biz, Marvel Legends, Jack-o'-lantern figures. These are some of my favorite and oldest Scarecrow henchmen. And here's Scarecrow, next to some Hasbro, Marvel Legends, Jack-o'-lantern figures. Then, next to a couple of Arkham Knight Scarecrow henchmen. Later, McFarlane made some Fortnite figures. I saw the Skull Trooper and thought it would be a perfect Scarecrow henchman. I got 4 of these guys. And all 5 of the figures in front of you are by McFarlane Toys. McFarlane made a paint variant. This is a Walgreens exclusive glow-in-the-dark version. Even more Scarecrow henchmen. Then, Jazzwares came out with their 6-inch scale Fortnite figures, and they had a Skull Trooper. I thought to myself, I've got 4 of the other 2. I've got to get 4 of this one. So I did just that. Now I have 6-inch and 7-inch scale Scarecrow henchmen. They proceeded to make a repaint as well. This was the black and white version, the standard version, much better than the purple one they first released. But at this point, I'm thinking, please, nobody make any more Skull Trooper varieties. My Scarecrow does not need an army. And of course, they didn't listen. They made yet another variety. Now Hasbro has a Fortnite license, and I bet you they're going to release their version of the Skull Trooper. I have a Scarecrow henchman for any scenario. Now let's check them out. Next to some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here are all 3 of the Scarecrow figures McFarlane has made. Here's Scarecrow, next to Grifter and the Damian Wayne Robin. These are all 3 of the characters that are specifically labeled Infinite Frontier by McFarlane Toys. Add in the Robin variants, and these are all the Infinite Frontier figures McFarlane has made so far. Now let's check them out. Next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the other 2 figures I got from McFarlane Toys today. The Future State Superman and the New 52 Static Shock. I will admit, there's some well done figures, but kind of weak releases as far as I'm concerned. I don't really need this caveman, savage Superman, although he is very well done. I feel the exact same about Scarecrow, and I don't think Static Shock looks very good. And here he is, next to the Page Punchers, which I thought I had complete, and then they went and announced the black and white Black Adam. Here's Scarecrow, next to the Black Adam movie wave. And here he is, next to the Blackest Night wave, collective build Atrocitus. Then, next to the 2 most recent Mega figures, Killer Croc and Man-Bat, at least before the Black Adam Mega figures. And then I guess Bane and Necron are shipping right now as well. Here he is, next to both versions of Martian Manhunter. Then, next to the Target exclusive Crime Syndicate, collective build Star the Conqueror, Ultraman, Superwoman, and Owlman. Here, next to all 3 versions of Lex Luthor in his power suit. Then, next to both versions of the Future State Dark Detective Batman. And now, next to the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive paint variants of the Arkham Knight Scarecrow and Red Hood. And here, with the Tales of the Dark Multiverse Duke Thomas and the Batman Who Laughs dressed as Batman. Here's Scarecrow, next to the Batman vs. Hush 2-pack. And here, next to the single release of Hush. Then, next to Ghostmaker. Here he is, next to the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive Gold Label Unmasked Zernar Batman and Unmasked Infinite Frontier Robin. Then, with the John Kent Superboy and the Tim Drake Red Robin. And finally, next to the Infinite Frontier Grifter and the Arkham Knight. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know what designs you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically a 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller. But first, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. In front of you are 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, next to some more McFarlane Toys, these are from different various video game properties. And now, next to some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, with some DC Direct and DC Collectibles figures. And here he is, standing next to some NECA figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 1/12 collective figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And here, with some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, it's a nice figure, but it's definitely not my ideal version of Scarecrow. I think the figure looks worse than the actual art. That being said, they did a pretty good job with the execution. They retained a ton of articulation with that huge sort of poncho, all his clothing. It also looks pretty good. Colors seem just a little brighter than they should be. Sculpt and paint job are excellent. Just paint's a little brighter. Articulation, pretty good all things considered. Very impressed with how I handled that. His accessories are non-existent. If I were to rate this figure, I'm going to give him a 6 out of 10. I like him, but I don't love him. Looking forward to McFarlane releasing the Arkham Knight Scarecrow and seeing what Scarecrow is going to come next. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you've had anything you want to say with the video, head to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.